Hello, everybody. Happy game day. We made it to another game day. In less than 12 hours, the Seahawks will be taking the field at home against the Denver Broncos. First home game of the year. Preseason game number 2. We all know what it's all about. We all have some idea of what to expect. So, it's a game. It is not a game where the win or loss means much of anything, but it's still a game. I think a lot of us are going to tune in. I think a lot of us are going to be interested to see what the team shows. I think that there is some stuff you can derive from what we will see out there tonight. So, in lieu of being that interested in winning or losing, let's interest ourselves in what we see out of certain players. So the first game, obviously, we saw some players of interest and we learned some stuff, but a lot of the playing time went to players who have very little or no chance of making the roster. We saw carries go to guys like a Josh Johnson. We saw passes go to players like Dominic Wood-Anderson. We saw defensive reps go to Lakeem Williams. These guys are not going to make the team, almost certainly. But will that change this week? That's the first question we have to ask. Who's going to be out there and who's really worth watching? So, Pete Carroll has hinted strongly that more starters will play this game than in last week. He did not say that they will and said that we'll see. So it seems likely that we will see at least a few more starters, a few more guys are healthy, and a few of the guys who are potential or probable or definite starters could use the reps. So the first question is, are we going to see a few more starters in this game? And it seems like the answer is yes. So with that in mind, let's plow forward and take a look at exactly who we might see. So to round it up real quick, Jamarco Jones, after missing last week, will be available, and there is value there because Jamarco Jones is absolutely a player who could play some this year. No Ethan Posick, which is starting to become alarming because he is meant to be the starting center, not just a potential starting center, but the starting center. Kind of getting anxious there. We need... If there's one position where we really needed to do more to address this offseason and we didn't on this roster, it was center. We really could have done more to address center. We didn't. And if we don't have even Posick, then it's a real disaster. But looks like he's not playing. Geno Smith was cleared of his concussion. Good news there. But we don't know if he's going to play because he didn't practice all week. Doesn't really matter to me that much. We know exactly what Geno is, but we don't know if he's going to play. Nkemdiche, unsure. I really hope Nkemdiche can play and play well. I want to see if the hype is real. Because training camp hype and practice hype, sometimes it gets you a Trey Flowers. I want to find out. I want to start finding out, is the Nkemdiche stuff just Carroll being way too optimistic, or is this dude actually going to help us this year? So Nkemdiche will be one of the key guys to watch in this game if he plays. So I'm really hoping he does. D. Eskridge will not play in this game. He could play next week, which I really hope he can get out there for at least a few reps next week. But no D. Eskridge this week, so that's kind of a disappointment, but not unexpected at all. Blair did not practice this week. He actually hasn't practiced in a couple weeks, so we will not see him. Another disappointment. He's another young guy who has something to prove. Penny Hart also will be missing this game. Apparently the ankle sprain he got a couple weeks ago was significant. There is some belief that he could be back next week, apparently, but no Penny Hart in this game. Everett, after missing practice a couple days ago, was practicing yesterday, so he's fine. Now, will he play? I don't know. He might be one of the veterans that you want to protect. But we'll come back to that in a minute here. That's about it in terms of the injury stuff. I know we're going to see Rashad Penny. We've talked about that a little bit in the stream last night. We talked about that in previous videos. Seeing some Penny will, I think, be pretty good because he's a guy who needs to prove if he's going to help us win this year or not. Still no DJ Reed, but that's certainly expected at this point. Obviously, no Dwayne Brown, but that has nothing to do with injury. That's a whole nother issue. I don't know about Damian Lewis. I don't know about Gabe Jackson. I don't know about Brandon Shell. I don't know about Tyler Lockett. Those guys, I don't know if they're nursing injuries still or not. And I don't know if they would play even if they weren't. So we'll find out when the game starts. But that's a basic roundup of the Seahawks injury situation going into this game. Now, what should we be watching for tonight against the Broncos? Defensively, it's probably the corners. I have a good amount of confidence that this defensive line is ready to go. We have a lot of pass rushers. Some of them are probably going to not live up to the hype. It wouldn't surprise me if Benson Mayowa barely plays this year, just as one example. LJ Collier might complete the arc of the first round bust pretty early this season. It seems like he might be headed that way if the training camp stuff is legit. But we have enough guys up there with promise, potential, talent, and in some cases, proven production to make sure that even if a couple guys miss, enough guys will hit to be good. I think the pass rush and the run defense on the front will be fine. Linebackers, look, I'm not big on linebackers anymore. I don't think linebackers matter that much in the NFL anymore, honestly. Not as much as they used to, but for what we need linebackers to do, I think what we have is fine. I have confidence in those guys. Obviously, I have all the confidence in the world in our safeties. I don't need to see anything in preseason from Adams or Diggs to believe in those guys, but it's those corners. So Carroll said this earlier today about our corners. Trey Brown is trying to earn a job to start. He's that close already to Ahkello Witherspoon at left cornerback. He may be trying to motivate both guys, says Greg Bell. Brown will get a long look tomorrow night versus Denver. And presumably you will also see guys like Trey Flowers, Gavin Heslop, and Pierre Desir, maybe Demarius Randall in there as well. So my concern is that Ahkello Witherspoon is not cutting it. And that's why a fourth round rookie like Trey Brown is already in Ahkello Witherspoon's orbit. Ahkello Witherspoon has been in the league a few years now. He's had great moments in this league already. He's had really bad moments too, but he has had some great moments in this league. He should not be scrapping and fighting and just struggling to stay ahead of a fourth round rookie on the depth chart. Now, the flip side of that is the potential that Trey Brown is just a prodigy. And I've heard good things about Trey Brown in camp so far. And I mean, I didn't see that much of him in the first preseason game. It wasn't overly impressive, the little bit that I did see. But I guess that's possible. But I don't know if this says anything positive about Witherspoon. To me, Witherspoon should be running away with that starting role at this point. He should have that starting role at left cornerback locked up, and that should be that. So the fact that Trey Brown is competing with him, I mean, competition is nice, but it also has me wondering if Witherspoon might just be bad. And I guess it would be better to find out now than mid-season, but that leaves us in a very precarious spot at cornerback, I have to admit. So the cornerback group, as always, that's one to watch. As for offense, it really depends on who plays. One thing that I am keeping a little bit of an eye on is the center position, of course, because, look, the left tackle thing is binary, right? I know all eyes are on this offensive line, right? Left tackle is binary. Either Dwayne Brown plays and we're fine, or Dwayne Brown doesn't play and burn the team to the ground. It's either really good or really bad, and it's binary. But center is a little more Schrodinger, right? Posick could play, Posick could not play, Posick could play and be good, Posick could play and be bad, Posick could play and be mediocre. Kyle Fuller could get his stuff together. Damian Lewis could move to center, I guess. And then you have Phil Haynes, the sleeper. Carroll has said about Phil Haynes, he said this, I guess, earlier yesterday, that they view Phil Haynes as a guard with emergency options at the center position. However, Carroll did say he thinks that Phil Haynes has played really well at center so far. And Haynes has said that the snapping has obviously been difficult for him, but he feels like practicing at center has made him a better player. Now, I'm not super into the idea of Phil Haynes playing his first ever real action at center for the Seahawks this year, trying to protect a franchise $35 million quarterback and trying to be the, not the play caller, but the guy who's calling out protections for an offensive line that is, I think, going to be, for the most part, pretty good this year, but is obviously going to be dependent on getting experience together, because we are bringing in at least a couple new guys, especially if Haynes plays. So if Postic can't play, which it sounds like he can't, and if Fuller continues to be as bad as he's been, then I would like to see Haynes get some real action at center. I would prefer that, if possible, to Damian Lewis moving to center, because I don't want to jerk Damian Lewis around too much. But Phil Haynes playing center, if we get to see that at some point tonight, would be very interesting to me. I'd like to see a little bit of Everett and Metcalf, just so they can get a little bit of in-game experience. Those guys are veterans at this point. I have a lot of faith in those guys. I know what they are. But I'd like to see them play a little bit. Obviously, Penny's going to be interesting to see how he's doing behind this new blocking scheme. It's so hard to evaluate stuff on this offense with the no Dwayne Brown, but I would say those are the things that I would really be looking for. I want to see if Phil Haynes can play some center. I want to see Penny. I want to continue to see what we can get out of Cade Johnson, honestly, because I like him and I feel like he might have a role on this team this year. And I wouldn't mind seeing a little Gabe Jackson as well. All right, so I think that's really all I can say about this game tonight. Will not be streaming it. I will be streaming the game next week, I think. So keep an eye out for that. But for this one, we will be watching it on our own. And keep an eye out Sunday morning for a post-game video and a stream to discuss it. All right, see you guys later. Might do a stream before the game, though, to talk about stuff for maybe an hour. So keep an eye out for that. See y'all later. Go Hawks.